Live from Melbourne, this is 7 Afternoon News with Rebecca Maddern.
Good afternoon. First at 4, the board of Nine Entertainment has met in Sydney in the wake of Peter Costello's airport altercation with a journalist. He's accused of shoving the man to the ground, but the Nine chairman is adamant he never laid a finger on him. Bethan Yeoman has the latest.
It's understood yesterday's altercation at Canberra Airport was top of the agenda at a Nine board meeting in Sydney today after its chair, Peter Costello, was front-page news across the country. Mr Costello was caught on camera shoving a journalist from the Australian newspaper to the ground after he was asked multiple questions about the sexual harassment scandal engulfing the network.
Well, you've got to answer the questions, Mr Costello. Don't. You've just assaulted me.
The former treasurer later denied touching the reporter, instead claiming he tripped.
When I came through Canberra Airport, there was a reporter walking backwards with his phone filming. He was backing backwards. He hit an advertising placard. I did not lay a finger or a fist or anything else on it.
My view is that if a journalist asks you a question, you stop and answer it. And that's the simplest way to do it, rather than to sort of try and run away or say no comment or, accidentally knock somebody over.
I've known Peter Costello for many years and I've never known or found him to be aggressive in nature.
The incident has raised questions about Mr Costello's future at the top of the media company.
To developing news now, and a rideshare driver is facing court over the alleged rape of a teenager in West Melbourne. The 43-year-old man is accused of assaulting the 19-year-old woman after she got into his vehicle on Batman Street just before 2 a.m. The Sexual Crimes Squad arrested him at his Pakenham home yesterday morning. He's since been charged with rape and false imprisonment and has had his rideshare licence suspended. The man is due to face the Magistrates Court this afternoon and will bring you the latest details as they come into the newsroom. Fallen Eagles star Daniel Kerr has avoided jail despite years of repeated domestic violence offences against his ex-partner. Francesca Denuccio reports from outside court.
Today, the court heard Kerr engaged in physical, emotional and verbal abuse against his former partner, including destroying her property and controlling her finances. The offences occurred between December 2013 and October 2019.
What do you have to say to your victim and mother of your child?
The prosecution said Kerr repeatedly assaulted the woman, whose name is suppressed, including choking her while she was holding their 5-month-old child. In 2020, the woman took out a restraining order against Kerr. The court was told their relationship was marred by drug and alcohol abuse. The court also heard the former premiership player was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 2022, and psychological reports revealed Kerr was suffering from significant mental health issues years before committing the offences. His lawyer said mental health and illicit drug use were the driving forces behind the offending.
Daniel, are you happy with today's outcome?
Kerr previously pleaded guilty to the charge. Kerr was handed a suspended jail term of 4 years and 6 months. Judge Gillen telling the court today he'll be subject to strict conditions, such as community supervision.
Fire authorities are warning it's only a matter of time before someone gets hurt in Melbourne's tobacco wars. It comes as another 2 stores are targeted, the arsonist striking within a matter of hours. Paul Dowsley reports.
This is becoming sadly predictable in Melbourne. Another night and more arson attacks on businesses before dawn. This morning, 2 more targeted. The worst in the northern suburb of Coburg, around 4:25. A vape and shisha shop engulfed. 28 firefighters had it under control in half an hour. Thankfully, it didn't spread to the buildings next door, but inside is destroyed. The roof has caved in. The awning over the footpath now at risk of collapse.
So we're looking at about probably around $500,000 damage. Both buildings are being gutted, and it is a real concern for Fire Rescue Victoria and for the community that these are still occurring, on this sort of regular basis.
We looked out the window and it was fully a huge firebomb. It was orange, bright, it had taken over the whole building. It was absolutely gone.
About 80 minutes earlier, there was another attack on a tobacco shop across town in Footscray. At that one, a vehicle rammed the security shutter to get inside, but their attempts to set it on fire were unsuccessful. A jerry can left on the road and police collected a balaclava from inside the car. Both incidents believed to be part of the ongoing and widespread tobacco war between crime groups. It follows another targeted attack yesterday morning at a convenience store on Chapel Street in Paran, where two men smashed their way in and spread fuel and set it on fire, one of their feet even catching alight. In just the past 16 months, about 80 businesses across Victoria have been firebombed.
Thank you, Paul. Bird flu has swept through a fifth poultry farm in Victoria, with authorities right now working to contain the outbreak. The property in the southwestern town of Meredith has been plunged into quarantine and the infected chickens are being disposed of. It's the third farm in the region to suffer an outbreak. Agricultural Victoria says all chicken and egg products are safe to consume. Shop owners are breathing fresh life into the CBD, with retail vacancy rates dropping to the lowest in the country. Here's Blake Johnson.
Retail is enjoying somewhat of a resurgence in the city. Retail vacancy rates have halved in the past year. They were 13%, now 6.5%. The owners of Mork Hot Chocolate moved to Centre Place last week, opening their fourth store in Melbourne in what was an empty shopfront.
Everyone has felt it, I think, but I believe the businesses here are quite strong. They've got a really strong following.
The City of Melbourne says dining and entertainment spend has tripled over the past 3 years.
This shows us that the stimulation, the support and the best events program in Australia have come a long way to bringing people back.
But there's still a level of unpredictability that remains in hospitality.
Business has been really unpredictable these days. Like, some days are really quiet, some days are pretty busy.
What's business been like in the city in the last few months since you've moved here?
It's been really good. I feel like, especially this spot, it's a really good spot.
The data's good news, but it does fly in the face of what we're picking up from hospitality and retail operators across the CBD.
Some 800 businesses have opened in the city in the past year, and Flinders Street Station is recording its busiest Mondays in more than 4 years.
Parts of New South Wales are on flood watch as we go to air, with more than 200 millimetres of rain falling in some parts. Rivers are rising and dams have spilled over, sparking emergency evacuations in Sydney's south. The SES has responded to almost 500 jobs. Major roads such as the Princes Highway have been closed in both directions. Veterans who helped liberate Europe from Nazi rule have been hailed for their heroism at commemorations to mark the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Royalty and world leaders took part in ceremonies, Joe Biden declaring that standing up to tyranny is just as important right now as it was back then. Europe Bureau Chief Hugh Whitfeld filed this report from Normandy.
The D-Day veterans are now well into their 90s or beyond the age of 100, wheeled into the International Commemorative Service here in Normandy to be greeted by kings and princes, presidents and prime ministers. They all have incredible stories to tell, and it was a day of very special, poignant moments right across the Normandy coast, with flypasts and memorial services held along the beaches, marking 80 years since the 160,000 Allied troops landed on the Normandy coast to drive the Nazis from continental Europe. The King and Queen were joined by British veterans at the UK Memorial, His Majesty saying free nations must stand together to oppose tyranny. Prince William was at the Canadian Memorial alongside Justin Trudeau, and the US President Joe Biden here at the American Memorial, along with the French President Emmanuel Macron at Omaha Beach, with a question of just how stable the victory won and the peace attained 80 years ago was ever present. Russia wasn't mentioned by name, but the conflict in Ukraine certainly was.
The price of unchecked tyranny is the blood of the young and the brave. In their generation, in their hour of trial, the Allied forces of D-Day did their duty. Now the question for us is, in our hour of trial, will we do ours? Will we stand for freedom? Will we defend democracy? Will we stand together? My answer is yes, and only can be yes.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a special guest here, embraced by those D-Day veterans, a reminder of the present-day threats that Europe faces. The reality, of course, is, though, that there will be fewer of those veterans around in the years to come. This 80th anniversary considered to be a very special one.
Still to come, a suburban shooting mystery in Melbourne's northwest. Details next. Plus, a protest stunt leaves Melbourne University seeing red. Detecting dementia 9 years in advance, the groundbreaking new research. And the secret tax hacks to supersize your return. We'll have expert advice. We've got a big hour of news ahead. Please don't go anywhere. 35-year-old man is recovering in hospital after he was shot at a home in Melbourne's northwest. Police were called to the Omar Street address in Maddern around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. The gunshot victim took himself to hospital with upper body injuries. 3 people were questioned by detectives and released. Police say it was a targeted attack. Well, tax time is fast approaching and the race is on to maximise returns. For his expert advice, we're now joined by Chris Ford from Compare the Market. Chris, such an exciting time for us. What should we be doing now to prepare for July 1?
Oh, good afternoon, Rebecca. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's Christmas. Maybe I'm a really true finance nerd. But it's a race into this magical date, the 30th of June. And actually 1 July this year, it's a pretty big date on the calendar. A lot of changes coming. There's minimum wage increases. There are changes to Medicare levy surcharge when it comes to health. There's energy prices. They're forecast to come down in Victoria. And then twofold in tax. We have the regular tax return, but then these long forecast stage 3 tax cuts become effective from the 1st of July. So take this time now, get your ducks in a row, gather those receipts and evidence, trawl through those shoe boxes in the cupboard and get ready for what you need to do to lodge that tax return.
Mm-hmm. Now, Australians will be eligible for a range of tax cuts. What is the best thing to do with that extra cash?
Yeah, so look, try not to be confused here. I know it's merging a bit in sort of the public commentary, but there are tax cuts coming with stage 3, so potential tax returns for some Aussies there, as well as, well, all Aussies, I should say, as well as tax returns. So 2 distinct things here at play from 1 July. So when it comes to tax cuts, we did crunch some numbers and found the cuts could actually increase Aussie borrowing power by potentially more than $40,000 in some scenarios. So this could have an impact on property prices. We've seen those increase. Well, it could spark a bit more in the second half of 2024. That's not going to be applicable to everyone, though. For most, our tax cuts and those potential returns, they're going to go towards the essentials. You know, these household bills that we may have been putting off recently, rising rents, groceries, insurances, and the like. For others, and there's some research out there and tips suggesting it could actually be a time to invest. Even that small amount, that could build up over time.
Yeah, not everyone obviously can afford to invest their tax return, though. What is the advice for them?
Yeah, look, exactly. We are all feeling the cost of the living pain very differently. We did just run some research, found that 1 in 5, so 20% are looking to use that tax refund to pay off debt. And that's a really, really solid strategy. About 40% looking to save, 7% looking for that well-earned break. So a bit of variation out there. I just take the next couple of weeks, check your budget. Where is it bursting? What's the pressing priority? Try not to go splash on that new TV if the credit card really is racking up interest big time.
Okay, and what's the traps that we should be avoiding this time? Just asking for a friend, what's the ATO on watch for?
Yeah, look, there are a few things. They flagged 3 main areas, and Rebecca, I hope they don't apply to you. One is incorrectly claiming work-related expenses. One is inflating claims for rental properties. And another, the third and final, is failing to include all income when lodging. So really take your time. The ATO has said lodge correctly, and always, if in doubt, chat to that financial professional who can really help you there.
Yeah, Chris Ford, always great advice. Thank you so much for your time on this Friday. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks, Rebecca. You.
Well, pro-Palestine activists have sprayed red paint on buildings at Melbourne University, forcing staff to close the Baillieu Library. Vandals broke into the campus around 4 this morning. Paint was also splashed across the office of Federal Labor MP Tim Watts. Police say that attack took place around 1:30 a.m. No arrests have been made over either incident. Melbourne researchers are on the cusp of developing a test to detect dementia almost a decade in advance. It's hoped the world-first study will allow doctors to stop the disease in its tracks before it's too late. Ainsley Kosh explains.
The world-first study, partly developed here in Melbourne, can predict dementia up to 9 years in advance before symptoms begin. Researchers from Monash University and the Queen Mary University of London analysed the MRI scans from more than 1,000 patients in the UK. It allows them to identify areas in the brain that are affected by the disease and predict which of them will get dementia with 80% accuracy. This is more effective than previous tests, which are done when the disease is far more advanced and it's already too late to reverse brain cell damage.
We can actually detect that the person will develop dementia much earlier in time, then we can actually provide treatments and therapies earlier in the disease process when the brain cells are still intact.
The information allows neuroscientists to improve early detection and treatment options, delaying the onset of dementia, then slowing its progress when it takes hold. Currently, there is no cure, but researchers say leading a healthy lifestyle, including eating well and regular exercise, can help reduce the risk.
Well, sport with Theo Doropoulos is up next as Simon Goodwin faces the music. Plus, the Tigers ramp up for Dusty's 300th in perfect fashion. The USA causes one of the greatest upsets in cricket history. And wildlife royalty pays a special visit to one of Australia's biggest zoos. Stay tuned, we've got sport, weather and plenty more news coming up next. Live from Melbourne, you are watching 7's Afternoon News. It is 15 degrees right now in the city. Jane Bunn will be here with the forecast, the weekend forecast, a little later in the hour. Theo Doropoulos joins us now for the day's sport. Theo, the under fire Demons remain defiant.
Indeed they do, Bex. Simon Goodwin was on the front foot today, accepting all the heat that has come the Demons' way. It's been a week of soul-searching following that horror loss to the Dockers in what's been an awful month. The D's will come face-to-face with Braden Maynard, the villain from last year's qualifying final. But Goodwin says Monday isn't about revenge.
I think if you're not burning after a 92 or 3-point loss, then there's something wrong. It sits in your guts, you're disappointed. You need to be vulnerable and understand that's not the way we want to be seen, and the next part comes the ownership part.
Geelong star Patrick Dangerfield is on track to return after the Cats' bye. Now Geelong heads to Sydney for a top-of-the-table clash with the Swans. Mark Blitzarves will return from suspension. The Tigers are counting the cost of last night's stunning win over the Crows. Adam Uze's men were dominant but are now sweating on star midfielder Dion Prestia after another soft tissue scare. He's in doubt for Dustin Martin's 300th against the Hawks on Saturday afternoon with a calf problem.
We've got a 9 or 10 day break going into the Hawthorn game, so he should be fine. So there was no way knowing he was coming off the ground. But he seemed fine throughout the game. But just a little bit of a knock on the lower calf.
Skipper Toby Nankervis was huge in the win, while Noah Cumberland booted 3 goals as the Tigers got home by 8 points. World cricket officials hoping for a boom in America have been handed a dream result at the T20 World Cup with one of the greatest upsets the game has ever seen. America taking down pre-tournament favourites Pakistan by 5 runs in Texas. You heard that correctly. Pakistan scored 7 for 159 before the USA tied the game, sending it to a super over. America made 18 runs, assisted by 7 wides from Muhammad Amir, the player once jailed for spot fixing in test matches.
Effort from Milan Kumar, diving forward. What a catch!
The Americans, believe it or not, are 2 from 2 in cricket. Remarkable stuff. Coco Gauff left the French Open in tears, an early line call and overrule with a breaking point for the American in her semi-final. After Goff composed herself, Iga Swiatek won 6-2, 6-2 and will play for her third straight Roland Garros title. The world number one will face Jasmine Paolini in the final. The 28-year-old Italian defeated 17-year-old Mira Andreeva 6-3, 6-1. It's her maiden Grand Slam final. After 10 games out, 7'3" big man Kristaps Porzingis came back for the NBA Finals and put Sydney's Josh Green on the wrong side of a poster.
Here comes Josh Green, one man to beat, but it's a 7-footer. Who blocks it again?
Boston had as many blocks as Dallas had assists in a 107-89 Celtics win to lead 1-0 Game 2 Sunday. And of course, Beck, we're live tonight. The Dogs and the Lions at Marvel Stadium, a massive clash and a great build-up.
Can we just talk about the
USA
playing cricket?
Does it feel right
No.
to say the Americans were dominant in the cricket over Pakistan?
2 wins from 2 games.
Remarkable, isn't it?
They know how to play that. All right, we'll leave that there. Look forward to the next game. Thank you very much. Well, the world's most authoritative voice on chimpanzees is on a mission down under to inspire the next generation of conservationists. Today, Dr Jane Goodall paid a visit to Taronga Zoo in Sydney, meeting with young animal lovers and, of course, stopping by the chimpanzee enclosure. The 90-year-old is travelling the country as part of her Reasons for Hope tour. Still to come here on 7's Afternoon News, Peter Costello's airport showdown takes a turn. The video that shows what really happened, plus the high-tech help for our firefighting frontline and the urgent search as the godfather of fasting goes missing on an island getaway. You are watching 7's Afternoon News, live and local from the heart of Melbourne.
Live from Melbourne. This is 7 Afternoon News with Rebecca Maddern.
Hello again, returning to our top story now, and the board of Nine Entertainment has been meeting this afternoon with assault allegations against its chairman, Peter Costello, expected to be high on the agenda. The former treasurer denies he shoved a reporter to the ground at Canberra Airport when being questioned about a sexual harassment scandal at the network.
He was backing backwards, he hit an advertising placard. I did not lay a finger or a fist or anything else on it.
My view is that if a journalist asks you a question, you stop and answer it. And that's the simplest way to do it, rather than to sort of try and run away or say no comment or, accidentally knock somebody over.
I've known Peter Costello for many years and I've never known or found him to be aggressive in nature.
ACT police haven't received a formal complaint about the incident. The Albanese government has moved to toughen Australia's migration laws, ditching rules that allowed some foreign-born criminals to avoid being deported. Here's political reporter Isabel Mullen.
Well, the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles signed Direction 110 this morning, insisting it will improve community safety. He told reporters the new direction was made after it was revealed that dangerous foreign criminals were actually dodging deportation by relying on a loophole in Direction 99. It meant that foreign-born criminals who'd lived in Australia for a long time could argue they had strong ties to the community when facing deportation. Visa cancellations were being overturned by the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, including that of a New Zealand man convicted of raping his stepdaughter and a Sudanese man accused of murder. The minister signed Direction 99 last year. Today, he's made some changes, claiming the old direction was being misinterpreted by the AAT.
The new revised direction will make crystal clear that the Australian government expects community protection to be given greater weight when it comes to visa decisions. It also elevates the impact on victims of family violence and their families into one of the existing primary considerations. The existing Direction 99 will be revoked on the 21st of June when Direction 110 comes into effect.
The minister stresses he will still have the power to overturn any decisions that he deems to be inappropriate. There are about 10 cases that will still be decided under the current direction.
Children are among the 40 people killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school that had been sheltering displaced Palestinians in Gaza. Israel's military claims it was targeting a group of terrorists who'd been hiding at the UN-run site.
It's just another horrific example of the price that civilians are paying, that Palestinian men, women and children who are just trying to survive, who are being forced to move around in sort of a death circle around Gaza.
The White House is demanding transparency from the IDF on the attack. A world-first invention is giving Victoria's volunteer firefighters the edge in deadly summer bushfires. Designed by CFA engineers, the devices deploy a foam firewall to keep crews safe in their vehicles, even as the fire is passing over them. Here's Chanel Vella.
Well, this new technology is all about saving lives, and I'm joined now by Chief Officer Jason Heffernan. Why is this so special?
It is so special for a number of reasons. Firstly, as you touched on, saving lives. Crew protection systems in firefighting vehicles when they're out in the bush, doing what they do best, protecting Victorian communities, is absolutely essential. Victoria is no stranger to fire, and unfortunately we saw some of the tragedies such as Linton, which bore out the need for better equipment and enhancements like we see on the vehicle behind us.
Tell me about this technology, how it works, and it was invented right here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what we've done. The CFA here in Victoria, we're using compressed air foam or CAFS technology to create essentially an insulated blanket over the top of the vehicle. It's been tested in partnership with the CSIRO. When the testing was done, the outside temperatures were some 800 plus degrees Celsius, but inside, I wouldn't say it was a pleasant, but certainly about 36 degrees. So certainly survivable for a crew that was in there.
And it's all about saving the crew members inside, but if they can drive away after an event, that's a bonus.
It is a bonus. Crew protection is principally designed to save the crew, as you said. However, if we do it in such a way that it also saves the vehicle and allows them to get back out into safety, that's all the better. And certainly the compressed air foam not only looks after the cabin, also puts a layer of foam over the tyres to give them the best opportunity they can to get out of that dangerous situation.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. The CFA is aiming to have all of these vehicles retrofitted by the end of the year in time for the upcoming fire season.
Thank you, Chanel. An international Qantas plane has been forced to turn around and head back to Sydney after a bird strike. The flight bound for Auckland left just before 7:30 this morning, with the collision happening shortly after takeoff. It returned and landed safely. The airline rebooked affected customers while engineers inspected the aircraft. A celebrity doctor famed for his fasting diets has mysteriously vanished on a Greek island. Michael Mosley set out on a coastal hike and never returned, the local mayor fearing the worst given the small search zone.
A popular holiday island now the focus of an intense search. TV personality Dr. Michael Mosley had taken a boat trip with wife Claire, and after a swim he decided to walk back to town yesterday. It should have only taken 20 minutes, but he hasn't been heard from since.
Hello and welcome to BritLab.
The 67-year-old was a regular on BBC and Channel 4 and was most famous for promoting the 5-2 diet, which involves intermittent fasting. He also made appearances on Australian television to talk diet, well-being and sleep.
Together, we are going to kickstart Australia's sleep revolution.
His wife Claire Bailey shared this photo of them just a week ago. Now islanders are sharing this image asking, have you seen this man? Local police fear he may have fallen from a cliff or been bitten by a snake, but other witnesses say he was seen talking to an unidentified man.
All the rescue teams of the island are looking to find him. With drones, they are into all the island.
Hampering the search, Dr. Mosley left his phone at the beach, making it harder to trace his location. Lawrence Jeffcoat, 7 News.
Still to come, the land tax floor unfairly targeting people fleeing their abusive partners. Details next. Plus, beating childhood cancers once thought incurable with personalised treatments. SpaceX success as its mega rocket makes an ocean splashdown. And Netflix in hot water as the baby reindeer inspiration sues. We are back in just a few minutes. We'll see you soon. The Allen government is pledging to fix a domestic violence oversight that's cost victims thousands of dollars. Women fleeing their abusers by leaving the family home have been facing land tax bills when they register a new address.
The last thing we want to see is victim survivors have an additional burden placed upon them.
The State Revenue Office has been instructed to liaise with domestic violence services so it doesn't happen again. Cutting-edge, personalised treatments are helping beat childhood cancers once thought incurable. And Australian researchers are pioneering the approach. Dr Loretta Lau from the Kids Cancer Centre is the lead author behind this research. Loretta, appreciate your time today. In a nutshell, how does this work?
So how this works is based on an approach called precision medicine. What it really means is that we are able to genetically test each individual tumour of a child with cancer and then come up with the best treatment or the best drug for that individual cancer or child. And that's different to a one-size-fits-all approach.
What are the success rates of that?
Yeah, so the success rate is actually quite amazing in that we found that for those children who ended up getting a treatment based on the precision medicine approach is that 55% of them actually had gotten a benefit out of it.
That's quite incredible. How does it compare with the current treatments?
Yeah, so how it compares is that, the children who had received the precision medicine-based match drug actually had twice as high a survival comparing to those who actually received a standard of care treatment.
Doctor, how do you see this shaping future treatment practices, perhaps not only, for children, but for all ages?
Yeah, I think that is it basically potentially changed a model of care for anyone with cancer, not just children, because we are now able to understand the tumour of each individual patient one by one and then pick the best treatment and not just, guessing what's in the tumour.
I'm just wondering, with individualised treatment, is the side effects any less or worse?
Yeah, so for individualised treatment, we tend to end up with drugs that are actually just oral drugs that are not the chemotherapy intravenous drug that we heard about that causes a lot of side effects. So overall, they do tend to have much less side effects than the very toxic chemotherapy.
All right, well, that is great news. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Dr Loretta Lau. Thank you. Well, Netflix is being sued by a Scottish woman who claims to be the inspiration for the hit series Baby Reindeer. Fiona Harvey says she's wrongly portrayed as deranged serial stalker Martha Scott, who was jailed for sexual assault. The lawsuit seeks more than $180 million from the streamer, claiming defamation, gross negligence and violating the right to privacy. Its mission finally accomplished for SpaceX this afternoon. Its mega rocket completing its first full test flight. Unlike the last 3 attempts, Starship returned to Earth without exploding. US correspondent Miley Hogan reports.
It is the most powerful rocket that has ever been built, and it shows just watching it take off. This is SpaceX's Starship. It rumbled off the pad, making a smooth ascent to space. This is the 4th test flight of the Starship to check several key elements of its systems, including the landing, burn and splashdown of its booster. Minutes after liftoff, the booster separated from the spacecraft and splashed down into the Gulf of Mexico as planned.
And we have splashdown! Congratulations to the SpaceX team!
The flight wasn't flawless though. Parts of the spacecraft broke away during the intense heat of re-entry, but it remained intact, a major step forward from the previous test flights when the booster was destroyed. The Starship aims to become a new method of flying cargo and people beyond Earth and eventually to the Moon and Mars. It comes as Boeing's new Starliner capsule carrying 2 astronauts successfully docked at the International Space Station after taking off from Florida yesterday. Boeing is attempting to take on SpaceX in the sector. It's all part of NASA's wider plan to expand its use of commercial vessels to transport cargo and astronauts into space.
Still to come, Clive Palmer's super yacht runs into trouble. See the marathon effort to refloat the $40 million vessel. Plus, a beloved Australian storyteller, the face of this year's Archibald winner. And Jane Bunn has your all-important long weekend forecast.
Tomorrow on Weekend Sunrise, we go off the beaten track. Road trips you've never heard of in your state to help you skip the crowds. Plus, winter superfoods, the recipes trending now to fight the flu. And exclusive, behind the scenes of one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Only on Weekend Sunrise.
Clive Palmer's $40 million super yacht has run into trouble on the Gold Coast. The mining magnate's vessel, Australia, hit a sandbar and ran aground yesterday afternoon. After a 4-hour wait for high tide, a tugboat managed to free the 56-metre super yacht. Mr Palmer was not on board at the time. It's the second time the vessel has run aground in the past 8 months, with maritime authorities now investigating. A portrait of the beloved Australian novelist Tim Winton has won this year's Archibald Prize. The artist Laura Jones is only the 12th woman to win the country's most prestigious art prize since its inception in 1921. She spoke with Paul Caddick.
More than 1,000 entries, 57 finalists, but there can be only one winner of the Archibald Prize, and the winner of the 2024 prize is artist Laura Jones for your work. A portrait of author Tim Winton. Laura, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What does this mean for you?
Oh, everything. It's so totally overwhelming, and I'm so grateful for the award and to be seen in such illustrious company with all these other brilliant artworks.
Now, tell us about your choice of subject. Why Tim Winton?
Tim Winton's an Australian legend and one of the greatest writers in the world. He's inspired generations of Australian artists and not only artists but people. He's enchanted them with his books and words, but he's also an incredible environmental advocate, so we share that passion.
What did he think about the end result?
He said he looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I certainly tried to convey that. Yeah, I don't think he loved it. I don't know. But,
What do you hope that people get from it?
I hope they remember what an extraordinary human being he is and how inspiring he is.
To win the prize, 104 years of history that you are now part of. I mean, quite a significant achievement.
It is, and to be the 12th woman, that's not lost on me. I'm blown away by that. I'm just so incredibly honoured. It's amazing.
And, sharing a lot of great company here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. My heart is beating.
And you can see Laura's work for yourself. The Archibald Prize exhibition opens here at the Art Gallery of New South Wales tomorrow.
A popular packaged cold meat is being pulled from major supermarkets over allergy concerns. Primo Foods has recalled its mild salami with 25% less salt after it was found the product contained undeclared traces of milk. The product was sold at Woolworths, Coles and IGA and has a best before date of July 19. Shoppers can return it for a full refund. Well, long weekend holidaymakers are hitting the road. Let's cross to the chopper for a live traffic update.
Good afternoon, it's James in the Freedom Traffic Chopper. We're currently above the Calder Freeway outbound where there's been a crash just before the Ring Road. The right-hand lane is currently closed with multiple crews on scene. We are still awaiting a tow though, so it's going to make for some massive delays all the way back to the Tulla Freeway. Absolutely everything is on sale at Freedom. Get 20 to 60% off all furniture, including sofas, dining, outdoor, bedroom and mattresses store-wide. Sale on now, only at Freedom. Have a great long weekend. We'll be back again next week.
Thank you, James. Well, the Eiffel Tower is getting a makeover ahead of the Paris Olympic Games. The iconic rings, coming in at 29 metres long and 15 metres high, will adorn the landmark from tomorrow to mark 50 days before the Games begin. Jane Bunn joins us now. Jane, what's in store for the long weekend?
Well, Beck, the nicest day, it does look to be Monday. The wettest day looks to be Sunday. Today had a mix of sun and cloud, bright sunshine at times, some gloomy grey at others. Winds continued to be southeasterly, but it wasn't quite as warm as yesterday. We peaked at 16 in the city. Most suburbs also reached 16, but one made it up to 17. That was Viewbank. There is a gloomy grey cloud across Gippsland and fog patches too, while north of the ranges it is all bright blue. Showers continue to stream across the southeast, but not as heavy as what is showers occurring up here in New South Wales. Cloud spills over into the southwest of the state, while there's barely a cloud in the north. Yarrawonga and Wodonga both reaching 20 once again. Significant rain is falling over southeast New South Wales thanks to that low pressure system that is here just offshore. Now that one there is on the move. It'll come closer to Victoria, but watch how it moves further away from the coast so we won't experience the heavier rain. A cold front delivered as it crossed the southwest of the country. The remains of that are due here on Sunday as the next weather system develops in the west. The rain eases in southern New South Wales tonight, but it does continue in East Gippsland into the morning tomorrow. Otherwise, just the odd bit of light wet weather across the south. The next front approaches on Saturday night. There it is. Most of the showers do fall during the day on Sunday. Now, this affects the south and ranges. A hint of snow on the peaks from later on Sunday, but this one here doesn't affect northern Victoria. We'll take a break on Monday. Lots of sunshine out there. Then the next front hits on Tuesday into Wednesday. The south and ranges once again, but this one may deliver a little for the north as well. There may also be alpine snow at the tail end of this one. Around the nation tomorrow, much nicer in Sydney, just the odd shower at the coastal fringe. Becoming sunny in Canberra. Sunny all day in Brisbane. Cloudy for Adelaide, a hint of light rain there later. Perth has showers and the risk of thunderstorms. To Victoria, local frost in the north, areas of fog too, particularly in the west. Mostly cloudy across the south. Rain eases in East Gippsland by the afternoon. There's the odd shower otherwise in the south. A top of 15 in Colac, 18 in Yarrawonga. In Melbourne, 15. We're expecting a mostly cloudy Saturday. Generally dry during the day, but increasing drizzle as we head into the evening back.
And Monday, all good for the big freeze at the MCG. Good news. Thank you very much, Jane. Well, coming up in 7 News at 6 with Peter Mitchell, why the last of the Holdens on our roads are fast running out of time. Wonder Horse Winx immortalised on the big screen. And Tim Watson will have sport live from inside Marvel for tonight's Dogs-Lions grudge match. That is 7 News at 6 with Peter Mitchell. But that is all from Melbourne's afternoon news. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll be back again tomorrow alongside Mike Amor. Until then, please take care. Bye.
Stream 7 News live and on demand on 7plus and stay informed on 7news.com.au. Nobody knows news better.